They thought humiliating her in front of the entire school would break her, but they never imagined the quiet girl they slapped would rise to become the one who changed their entire world. Stay till the end, you won't believe how her revenge turned into redemption. Subscribe now for more heart-stopping stories of courage, transformation, and poetic justice. It happened on a Monday morning so ordinary that no one expected history to be made inside Lincoln High's echoing gymnasium, yet that was the day Emma Walter's life took a turn that would echo across years and hearts. Emma had always been the quiet girl, the kind who slipped through hallways with her books hugged to her chest, invisible to most except when the bullies decided they needed entertainment. She wasn't poor, but she wasn't flashy either, she wasn't ugly, but she didn't meet the impossible standards of the popular crowd. Her crime, as the self-proclaimed Queen Bee Madison Larkson decided, was existing without permission. For weeks, Madison and her gang of followers, Tyler, Jess, and Brooke, had mocked Emma's clothes, her accent, her shy nature, but on that fateful day, their cruelty went beyond words. During an all-school assembly celebrating student spirit, Madison tricked Emma into coming up to the stage under the guise of winning a secret kindness award. When Emma stepped up, nervous yet hopeful, the crowd of 200 students watched as Madison feigned a smile, whispered something cruel in her ear, and then, without warning, slapped her hard across the face. The microphone picked up the sound, echoing like thunder. The gym went silent for half a second before erupting in laughter. Emma's cheeks burned, her ears rang, humiliation and disbelief crashed inside her chest like waves. She wanted to disappear, but deep inside, something else ignited, a quiet, deadly fire that said no more. She didn't cry, didn't run. She just looked Madison straight in the eyes and smiled, a small, strange smile that made even Madison hesitate for a heartbeat. That night, Emma went home and made a decision that would change everything. She'd been underestimated her whole life, but what no one knew was that Emma wasn't just quiet, she was brilliant. Behind her silence were hours spent learning coding, reading psychology, and studying human behavior. Her late mother, a once renowned behavioral scientist, had left behind notebooks full of insights about manipulation, emotional intelligence, and influence, and Emma had absorbed them all. That night, she pulled those notebooks out, determined to turn pain into power. Over the next months, Emma reinvented herself, not outwardly, not yet, but mentally, emotionally, strategically. She started observing her bullies, understanding their weaknesses. Madison craved validation, Tyler was insecure about his grades, Jess feared abandonment, Brooke followed others to feel important. Emma realized that control didn't come from loudness, it came from knowing the right strings to pull. So she started small. Compliments that subtly divided the group, rumors whispered at the right time, anonymous tips to teachers about academic dishonesty that led to investigations. When Madison's grades dropped and her boyfriend started flirting with Emma after a tutoring session, cracks began to form in the Queen Bee's empire. But Emma didn't stop there. She joined the debate team, shocking everyone with her confidence and eloquence, earning admiration from teachers and respect from peers. The same students who once laughed now began to see her differently. Madison grew more desperate, trying to reclaim her power, but every attempt backfired as Emma's calm demeanor and quiet charm outshone her tantrums. Then came the science fair, the moment Emma's revenge reached its masterpiece. She presented a project called The Psychology of Power: How Influence Can Reshape Behavior, using anonymous data collected from student surveys that eerily mirrored the dynamics of bullying in Lincoln High. When she revealed her findings, showing how manipulation thrives on fear and conformity, the audience went silent. Teachers exchanged looks. Students began realizing who the examples in her data were. Madison's face turned pale. By the end of the fair, Emma's project went viral on social media. Local news covered her story about the girl who exposed the anatomy of bullying. Suddenly, she wasn't invisible, she was a voice, a symbol, a storm. Madison tried one last act of cruelty, cornering Emma in the bathroom, accusing her of ruining her life, but this time, Emma didn't flinch. She simply said, "You did that yourself," and walked away. But here's where the story took its deepest twist. When the school board invited Emma to speak about bullying awareness, she used her speech not to destroy Madison, but to forgive her. Standing on that same stage where she was once slapped, she said, "Pain taught me more than hate ever could. I don't want revenge, I want change." That single act broke through barriers none of the adults had managed to touch. Madison, who had been suspended and humiliated by her own downfall, sat in the back of the auditorium crying quietly. After the assembly, she approached Emma, trembling, and apologized, not the fake kind, but the kind that breaks a person open. Over time, they became unlikely allies in reforming the school's anti-bullying program. Emma went on to receive national recognition for youth leadership, while Madison volunteered in youth counseling, helping victims of bullying, ironically inspired by the girl she once humiliated. Years later, Emma returned to Lincoln High as a guest speaker, walking into the gym where it all began, no longer the invisible girl but a successful psychologist and motivational author whose books helped thousands heal from trauma. The crowd of students, new and old, cheered for her, unaware that her journey began with one cruel slap. Sometimes, she told them, what was meant to break you becomes the reason you rise. But behind her serene smile, Emma remembered everything, the laughter, the pain, the nights she almost gave up, and knew that her greatest victory wasn't revenge, but mastering herself. What no one else realized was that her transformation wasn't just about one school, it rippled outward, changing every life she touched. She founded a foundation to support bullied teens, opened scholarships, and even funded counseling for bullies themselves, believing that broken people break others. In a strange way, Madison became her closest collaborator, both women driven by the scars of their shared past. Together, they spoke across schools nationwide, their story becoming a viral phenomenon titled, "The Slap That Started a Movement." Millions watched their TED Talk, shedding tears as they saw that forgiveness could coexist with strength. When a reporter asked Emma if she ever wished that day hadn't happened, she smiled and said, "If it hadn't, I might never have discovered who I truly am." And that was the real twist, not vengeance, but evolution. Emma proved that the most powerful response to cruelty isn't destruction, it's transformation. Her journey from the bullied girl to the beacon of resilience reminded everyone that no voice is too small, no pain too deep to turn into purpose. The very stage that witnessed her humiliation became the place she reclaimed her power. And when she finished her final speech, the standing ovation lasted for minutes, echoing the sound of redemption through the halls of Lincoln High. Subscribe request. Glowing star like, share and subscribe for more emotional real-life stories that prove strength isn't about fighting back, it's about rising higher than anyone expected.